You are watching Access LaPorte County, Channel 97. Coming up next is the February 28th meeting of the LaPorte County Regional Sewer and Water District Board. You can find more information for this meeting at www.accesslaportecounty.org.
Calling the meeting the February 28th, 2023.
Recording in progress.
That's not me.
Meeting of the LaPorte County Regional Sewer and Water District to order. Let's salute the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call.
John Carr.
Here.
Marcella Kunstig.
Here.
Jerry Jackson. Mitch Bishop.
Here.
Delia Zegas. Mark Danielson. Amanda Laners.
Here.
There's Jerry walking in.
Here's our chair.
Okay, Jerry Jackson is a yes.
You might have other things to do besides this. I don't know.
Okay, minutes from May 5th, 2022. Looking for approval.
I'll make a motion of approval with the May 5th, 2022 meeting.
Turn your mic on, please.
Turn your mic on. It is.
I'll make a motion of approval.
Second?
Wait.
So we're approving May 25th or May 5th meeting minutes from 2022.
That's the public hearing.
I know what it is. I just didn't know why we're approving it in February.
Because I thought they were already done and they hadn't been,
Okay.
so.
No problem. Okay, we got a motion and a second to approve the May 5th minutes. Are there any questions? Proceed to vote. All those in favor signify by word aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. Dahlia is now in the house.
Okay, you guys need no parking here.
I need a parking garage.
We do.
Okay, minutes from January 24th, 2023. Looking for approval on those as well. Last meeting.
Motion. Go ahead.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second?
We got a motion and a second to approve the January 24th, 2023 meeting minutes. Any questions on the motion? All those in favor signify by word aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. Section E, public comment. Anyone wishing to speak needs to state their name and address for the record, and we'll have 3 minutes to speak. Do we have anybody here for public comment? Anybody on Zoom for public comment? Any public comment? Seeing none, public comment is now closed. Moving on to reports. Steve Carter, Claims and Finance.
Good morning.
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 All right, so we have January financials, starting with the Hudson Saugony account. We had payments, 4 payments during January that were approved at the last meeting. Ending balance, January 31st, $3,317,312.78.
That's on the last page of your
Okay.
packet.
Yeah, I moved it to the front of mine, sorry. Then for Rolling Prairie, we had an ending balance of $24,135.40. Receipts were fairly normal. Disbursements fairly normal for last month. A little bit of interest income. You did have your loan payment that came out in early January, $11,785. For the toll road account service area, I had 3 receipts totaling $85,465.50. That's 3 months worth. They must have been a little bit behind. $64,000 in payments went out last month. $922 in interest income. Ending balance $431,184.14. Of that amount, $175,526.85 is in the operation and maintenance fund held at Horizon Checking, and the improvement fund is the remainder at $255,657.29 held at the Hoosier Fund. We have claims requests for the month totaling $125,472.85. Most of those, it looks like, are normal monthly bills. There are two that kind of stand out as not the normals. One is a JPR bill for continued design of Hudson-Saugony project. That'll be paid out of obviously the Hudson-Saugony account. And then under the toll road account, we have the audit from the State Board of Accounts of $13,761.
I'll make a motion to approve the claims.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the claims. Any questions on the motion? Proceed to vote. All those in favor signify by the word aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it.
A question, is anyone logged into the NIPSCO website, kind of following our... I have not. I was going to do that. I was curious if there's a login and all that business. Kind of looking at you because you're paying the bills, but I don't know.
Well, I haven't logged in. I think it's still under, and I can't remember the gentleman, Hollander. I just receive notice every month via email that they're going to take the money out of the account, and they give me the date and the amount, and I just go with that. But
all right, I'll see if I can log in. I'm just curious because they have a really nice history there, and you can see if you got a problem coming just by scanning down the. So I'll take a look.
That's awesome. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, I don't have the login from. I mean, I suppose we can create a new one, but
yeah, I'll distribute it if I get it done. All right.
Okay, moving on. Steve, do we need to act on this transfer funds to Hoosier Fund?
If you want to do that now, that would be fine. So my recommendation, you're going to have roughly $3.2 million and more than that, a little bit more than $3.2 million after this payment today. And I think my recommendation would be to transfer $3 million to the Hoosier Fund. And then every month we can make a transfer back to make payments out to contractors. Last I checked, it was like 4.45%.
That's what I was going to ask.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, that's a better
Makes
number than
sense.
you get from the CD.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and then you can take it out at any time. I mean, it's a daily money market, so
Okay.
it's literally you can make a wire within a day.
Do we need to have a motion for that?
I would think you'd want to do that.
Okay.
Also, along with that, I think we have enough money right now in the toll road account that we could also transfer somewhere between $75,000 and $100,000 from toll road over to the Hoosier Fund as well, and boost that balance up.
That 400 and change, 425. Is that what it was?
Yeah, I mean, I would look 200 and some thousand. Let me look at the number. 255 is already in the Hoosier Fund. For toll road, but there's 175,000 in the Horizon checking account that I think we could put probably at least 75,000 of that to use in the Hoosier Fund as well.
That'd leave us about a couple months operating.
Yeah. I mean, this last month had a couple of large bills. I know there were some Asbury bills in there that from stuff that happened late last year, early this year that are probably not normal, hopefully not normal.
Do we have more bills coming up, though? I mean, they just did some repairs, too.
But it's pretty easy to get the money back, right?
Yeah, it's literally, I mean, just take somebody going to the bank and making a request to wire it back. And actually, for the wire back is a little bit easier because you can do it via phone or email. You don't have to go to the bank to initiate the wire.
So who needs to go to the bank and transfer that today?
Either of the three of you are signatories, so
Okay.
either any of you can do it.
I hope
Okay.
we can handle that.
And the instructions, if I need to hang around, the instructions are on that sheet, and there's a number for U.S. Bank to call because they have so many accounts. They want notification when the wire's coming in, so they know where to credit it to appropriately. But
Yeah, let's talk about it after, for sure.
So you're looking, we're looking for a motion to transfer $75,000 from the toll road fund, and we have an exact 3.2 million from.
$3 million.
$3 million.
I would leave a couple $100,000 in there to pay next month's bills. You know,
$3 million.
The transfer to the Hoosier Fund.
And that's from our bond anticipation note.
correct.
And you could do it in one motion. I mean, this isn't.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to do just that.
Second.
John stated.
Okay, so we have a motion to transfer $75,000 from the toll road fund to the Hoosier Fund and $3 million from the ban to the Hoosier Fund. Are there any questions on that motion?
No.
All those in favor signify by the word aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. Asbury?
Chris is on.
Good morning.
What's happening?
Morning.
I don't think Asbury has anything special for this meeting. There's nothing that really went on in the past month. Anything out of the ordinary.
I have a question.
Yes.
Monthly report. Why are some of those columns highlighted yellow?
Some of the pounds.
Columns. It says.
Columns.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I don't have that report in front of me, so I'm not sure what. On what report?
That's the monthly report of operation, sequencing batch reactor, and there's CBOD 5 pounds, suspended solid pounds. Those are like highlighted, and at the bottom, the average, maximum, minimum, and data is just for some reason highlighted.
I don't think there's any reason. That's probably part of.
Are you talking about these?
Yes.
Yeah, this is items form, and the item highlighted those. I think to show that it's calculated. I don't know. It's always been that way on the form.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Jerry. Anything else under Asbury? Any questions for Chris?
On our flow to yesterday in the deluge.
It went okay. It doesn't have that much infiltration to it, so it doesn't react that badly to the deluge.
Good.
I'm hoping that stays the same with the addition of the two other projects.
We see an increase on the flow coming from Roller Prairie, but it's not substantial.
Okay. No, what I mean is that. Oh, okay. So you probably expect the same then.
But as you said, the toll road doesn't have much in the way of collection system, so hopefully we don't have a lot of I&I.
Right.
But I never paid attention, so I asked.
I did get a question. This is maybe unrelated and maybe not at this time, but I did get a question from a resident in around Saugeen Lake about if there's going to be anything done as far as stormwater wise.
I don't think that's in our bailiwick. I don't think our charter, whatever you want to call it, covers that.
Okay. So I'll address that also. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Nothing else? Moving on to JPR. Billing, collection, liens, permit, inspection fees collected.
This looks interesting.
Nothing more than what I've already put in your packets. I did include a list of the liens that have been filed. Second. second staple page there behind my report. We had several that were filed for non-payment, and then it generated some interesting phone calls.
I'm sure.
So with that, Jennifer, that would be for the May settlement.
Should be if
So that would come in June, the 55,000.
it's not guaranteed, but
Right. Whatever they collect
right.
out of that. Okay.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Yep. Correct. And they only do the liens once a year, LaPorte County. I'm not sure. I mean, we have to file them in January, and we can only do it once a year. Unlike my other districts where I can do it twice, I can only do it once here.
Thank you.
And I presume they just, let's presume that they do it for the May installment. I assume they don't break it up the way they do the tax portion, right? Well, we'll see. It's all
I guess we'll learn.
uncharted territory. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll learn as we go. I don't even know if we got any money on the last one, quite frankly. I don't think we did, but if we did, it wasn't a lot. But
I mean, that is a pretty significant number, especially given the current cash balance. So it'd be interesting to see how much we can collect on that.
exactly, yeah. Not much we can do when we can only file it once a year.
Yeah.
Jennifer, I had a question.
Sure.
We spoke a couple weeks ago. It was regarding the commercial rates. What we doing with that?
We will get to that.
Okay.
We're working on that. We talked about it at our pre-agenda meeting, and we'll probably be bringing something next month. But we will discuss it then.
All right.
Good catch.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah.
One.
We're not ready to go into that yet. We're still working on that.
Hey.
Okay. Moving on.
Oh, one more thing. All the letters for the Phase 1 and Phase 2 properties were mailed a few weeks ago. I wanted you to know that because I had sent out the draft letters and all that.
Yeah.
So those were all mailed. Those did generate some more interest and some more phone calls and information. So I have seen a couple more permits come in and people questioning stuff. So hopefully it works. But I do have a few addresses that I'm going to go check out today after this meeting and try to locate what's going on with information coming back.
Thank you.
Did we have any more this past month cycle? Any more reimbursements? I mean, any more actual
Yes.
submitted applications?
There was about 2 or 3.
Okay.
Yes. So actually, we didn't approve those in the claims, Steve.
Okay, we should do that.
I have about 3 of them.
So
$3,000.
Yeah.
I would approve those in a separate motion, and you could just say, I don't think we have to break it down per person. We leave that to you to know who it is. But if you think not to exceed $3,000 covers it, then that's the way I would make the motion to have the board approve up to $3,000 in reimbursement to homeowners
Yeah.
for the connection.
I think I've only got 3
Okay.
since last month.
Okay.
Make the motion.
Second.
We got a motion and a second to approve $3,000 worth of reimbursement for property owners. Are there any questions on the motion? Proceed to vote. All those in favor signify by the word aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. Okay, phase 2 update.
All right, thanks, guys. Not much on Phase 2 update since until we reach the sunsetting of the customer connection reimbursement program. The only thing I've got is I do have the final asset management plan attached. If you recall, last month I presented a draft one to you. We noticed a couple of errors with it. I didn't get any other comments on it, so we revised the financial advisor from sender to O.W. Crone and removed the draft watermark and are presenting it here for you guys for acceptance today, if that's acceptable.
I did a skim of it for 15 minutes, and
I reviewed it.
Yeah,
I reviewed the draft, reviewed it. It looks fine. You don't. Dan, you don't need a formal resolution necessarily, do you?
No,
I mean,
not,
the board.
not right now.
Okay. I just didn't know if it was
for the PR.
some regulatory SRF. Somebody needed a formal.
We will
I
next
thought we
month.
did.
Okay.
What's that? Those are different.
Okay.
Those are for something else.
Oh,
I'm
they
gonna
are?
touch on
Sorry.
those later.
Okay.
But we will next month. The SRF's going to need a statement acknowledging that you guys have an accepted asset management plan in place in order to submit for funding for Hudson Saugony. And we're going to be making some updates to that asset management plan and present it at the next meeting to include those Hudson Saugony improvements.
So, do you want this one though approved by the board
It
today?
needs to be accepted by the
needs
board.
to be accepted. Okay. So you'd want a motion, then we do a different resolution next month.
Yep.
Okay.
So we're looking for a motion to accept the resolution.
I'll make a motion to accept the asset management plan prepared by JPR.
Second.
We got a motion and a second to accept the asset management plan provided by JPR. Any questions on the motion? Proceed to vote. All those in favor signify by the word aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it.
Is that the same electron? This was we sent to us by electronic
Yes.
with all the pictures and everything too.
Yep.
Oh, that's cool.
Yep.
Excellent. Does this generate? Do we got enough information out of this for depreciation and everything to generate our payment into the capital fund?
So the way that the report is laid out is on a cash flow basis, meaning that the improvements as their useful life ends, we're assuming that it is a cash payment at that time. So there are several steps in there at points in time in the future that we're projecting that rate increases will be necessary. At this point, we don't have a schedule per se of transferring money over to an improvement fund, but that's something that we probably should be looking at.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's a moving target, but it does give you a good indication that we need to start planning for rate increases, you know, several years into the future. I think 2026 or 7 was probably the first trigger that we were looking at. So
It kind of gets your payment into the capital plan in kind of in the range, and then you start making it, and then you adjust it as, in my experience. Right. Yeah.
Right. I mean, right now, Rolling Prairie is limping along, so it's difficult to make any transfers into the capital fund at this point. We're still trying to fund the debt service account and the debt service reserve.
All right. If that's it on asset management plan stuff, the other bullet items there under asset management plan, I'm going to touch on. Those are actually Hudson Saugony related, so I'll get those later. So to move on to Hudson Saugony project, first item's proposed timeline. I reattached that to the board packets for you guys just to keep it in front of you. That's unchanged from what you've seen previously. Just to kind of give you an idea of what we're looking at timeline-wise, we're looking at design being completed by August of this year. We would then submit permits at the same time. We would receive bids in October of this year, and project closing would be tentatively scheduled for February of next year. Also, to remind you, the proposed project contracts that we are looking at for this project are: contract A would be the wastewater treatment plant work, B would be pump stations and force main, C would be the Saugony Lake collection system, and then D and E would be 2 different Hudson Lake collection system projects. Following the engineering committee meeting from this past month, we began work on drafting equipment pre-selection packages. The engineering committee determined that the following items should have equipment pre-selection packages drafted for them. They were packaged wastewater treatment plant equipment, mechanical screening equipment, UV disinfection, sludge dewatering equipment, pump stations, standby generators, an odor control system, grinder stations, a SCADA system, air vacuum valves, and flow meters. As it stands, I'm about halfway through drafting all those. So by the time of the next engineering committee meeting, I should be pretty close to having them all wrapped up. Next item that was discussed at the engineering committee meeting was the grinder station location policy. That's also attached to your board packets. Steve, you're on, right?
Yes, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear. You want to summarize that quick, since you mainly worked on drafting that?
Sure. Main purpose for this is to help establish some guidelines so we're consistent across the board with grinder station locations. It can have a pretty significant impact on your project budget. For instance, the extremes are we could take a grinder station as far onto the property as possible to serve a given property to get it as close to their connection point as possible. That in some cases might require, 100 feet of lateral length from the road back to the back side of the house if the septic system is the back side of the house. Another scenario is you could say we're only going to take them just across the right-of-way line onto private property. That would be a lateral length probably of total lateral length of about 30 feet. What we had budgeted for in the PER was a length of about 65 feet per grinder station. And what that does, if you assume roughly a 20 to 30 foot wide right of way, or sewer line is going to be on one side of the road or the other, that would generally allow us to extend a sewer line or the pressure sewer lateral about 30 to 40 feet into the property. So what we have found to be helpful is that we have some consistent guidelines on how we want to approach this. Are we going to say we're going to go a set distance in, and then if the property owner can connect to it by gravity sewer lateral from his house, then we're on gold? Or we could even say we don't really care if the property owner can connect to it by gravity. We're only going to go this far, and then that homeowner can either flow by gravity if its terrain allows, or he may have to get a pump to pump into our grinder station. So we did review this with the engineering committee, and I think the initial general consensus was to stay in accordance with the plan as presented in the PER that would extend that grinder pump about 30 feet into the property and no more than that. For the majority of the cases, that will typically put the grinder station, about where the front of the house is, that 30 to 40 foot range. It's not every house is that way, but some are that way. One thing that we have done on other projects is if a property owner says, no, I really need it, I don't want to have to get a pump, I want it to extend further onto my property, we've come to with some projects, an agreement is developed, and that the property owner then agrees to pay the cost to extend that grinder station farther onto that property.
Okay.
And that would be, we would design that longer extension into the project, but that homeowner or property owner would make a payment once bids came in and we knew what those established costs are, and they would be responsible to pay to have that extended farther onto the property. Those are just some guidelines that we want to set out soon because we are close to sending out additional easement paperwork and documents. By close, I mean probably within the next 30 to 45 days. And we also then offer to meet individually with property owners or take their calls, answer their questions. So we want to really have these guidelines in place so that we're all providing those property owners the same information about what we can do and can't do as far as an overall project budget. Another big cost factor is how the grinder stations are powered, and I believe Ken's probably had some discussions with you previously on that. In the PER, we have included grinder stations being powered from the grid as part of our project. So we'll pick several power pole locations and we'll run conduits that are pulled with the pressure sewer piping up to that grinder station. So homeowners' electrical systems aren't affected by this at all. So if there's some cottages that don't have appropriate electric service, that type of thing, that's something the property owner wouldn't have to deal with. However, that comes with a, pretty significant cost, about $3 million or so in the overall project budget. Other districts we work with say, no, we're going to put the grinder station in the ground, and then the homeowner will be responsible for providing power to that grinder station. Downside of that is that typically would mean you would not share any grinders at all. And one of the most significant savings you can have is if you agree to have property owners where we've almost required that they're shared grinders unless there's some, unreasonable cost factor involved, where that would be difficult for them to connect. So if we say homeowner is going to provide electrical, we might be going away from a shared grinder unless we put another piece of electrical mechanical equipment in, which has been done in some districts where there's like an alternator for a shared grinder where it will pull power from one house on this pump run, and then it will alternate to the other house. We didn't design it that way. We feel that's a little higher level of complication and just one more piece of equipment that could cause a failure down the road. So what we have in the design right now in the PER is electrical service provided by the district, but we also indicate that we would require a shared grinder wherever it's feasible. And by feasible, it means can they get to it by gravity without, for instance, having to open cut across a driveway that might be concrete or asphalt. They can get piping to a shared grinder. We're saying that's going to be a requirement that they share.
What would the electrical system look like? The district would be maintaining the electrical system in the future. What would that look like? Would there be one master meter somewhere and then our own distribution lines everywhere? Or would we try to pick up power as we go along and we'd have meters and disconnects? What would it look like?
Yeah, it would be the latter, Jerry. We typically, because this is AEP territory, they don't allow, some districts we work in with NIPSCOs and other, they do, I'll call it unmetered grinder stations where we put a riser in. It'll have a meter socket but no meter, and they just pay a flat rate of or charge a flat rate of $2 a month per grinder. AEP won't consider that scenario, so we'll put up to 10 grinders on 1 meter base. We'll pick a power pole. We'll have a drop to that, and it'll be a meter base / circuit breaker panel, similar to what you see used at campgrounds and that sometimes. Okay. And from that, then we run conduits, circuits out to approximately, anywhere from 5 to 10 grinders.
Okay.
Talking like a 200 amp load center with 20 spaces.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we have about 250 of those locations planned in the project right now.
Wow, that's sobering.
Wow.
And it could be less than that. If we're going with ganging up as much as possible, we might reduce that number down to 100, just because it's more cost effective. The flat rate for the meter costs almost more than the electricity we use to power the grinders.
Yeah, I'm sure.
That's why we want to minimize the number of risers in that case.
Yep.
I have a question. So you said we're going to save money by sharing grinders, but also pay $3 million for the wiring. What is the kind of balance of how much each of that costs?
Well, we have right now assumed a conservative number of shared grinders, because what we find in projects like this, especially on the lakeshore side, sometimes it's difficult to share grinders because people have landscaped and paved every square foot of that frontage where we would typically put a grinder station. So I ran some numbers that showed Let me pull them up here on my spreadsheet. Give me just a moment. Right now, what we planned for is we have a total of 720 grinders. Right now, we're thinking about 435 of those would be singles, and 285 would be shared. And you add that up, that's at 720. If we were to go to what I'll call the extreme that says we're going to share all but 100 grinder pumps, 450 would be shared, we would save about $2.7 million in the overall project budget. I think that's probably, though, a little, that could create some hardships for your customers if we go with that extreme model of shared grinders, because that means some of them may have to run 120 feet of grinder lateral. It could cost them $5,000. They might have to tear up a concrete driveway to get under a driveway to come to the shared grinder.
Okay, thank you.
And our thoughts were on this, that we would meet with the engineering committee one more time and go through some of these detailed cost analyses, just so that they're comfortable with the process. And then probably we're planning to have that meeting, I think, in the next couple weeks here. And then we would come to you next meeting with some proposed kind of final recommendations. This is the direction that we're going to go.
Did we settle on a date and time? I know there was discussion about the next engineering meeting.
Not yet. When I get back to the office, I will work on that.
All right.
I got emails from various people. I've just got to finalize that date.
Okay. So the district will be responsible not only for electricity, but also the maintenance and all the grinders, correct?
Correct.
All right.
Yeah. We did want to get this whole policy out to the board, though, so that they could start reviewing it. And, anybody feel free on the board to give us your thoughts put on the policy draft as it's written. And it's just strictly a draft right now.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on to SRF PER response. Back in late January, we received a list of PER comments from SRF. And as a part of that, there were a couple of items that were required to be touched on. One of which we wanted to get out ahead of with this PER revision that we made, and this included cost estimate increases due to recent unit price increases observed during bidding of similar projects last year. So, as part of this PER revision, we updated the cost estimates for the alternates accordingly. And as Steve mentioned, we'll be working with the engineering committee to develop different alternatives in project phasing and alternatives for cost reduction to help soften the blow of some of those costs. Basically, what we're seeing is these cost estimates were developed back before all the inflation and everything occurred last year. And we saw, through bidding of similar projects last year, we saw some prices come in pretty high, and we wanted to get this in front of SRF as soon as possible.
30% high, 50% high?
Under 30%, but not much under 30%.
So in general, the previous PER that was written and submitted in, or actually, based on like 2021 costs, was total project cost of about $34 million. And Dan, I believe with the updated costs we put in, and this is just construction cost update, there were no cost increases in all the soft costs in the project. But I believe the total project budget as presented now is $43 million.
Yeah.
So a jump from 34 to 43.
10 mil.
So there's your 30%. In addition to that, like I said, we'll be discussing that with the engineering committee when we meet in a couple weeks.
And Dan, maybe I'll just touch on a couple other things.
Sure.
Ken has been meeting routinely with SRF the one funding agency, the State Revolving Fund. That's the agency that we were ranked #1 on. And as I believe you're aware, we've been also talking with Rural Development, another potential funding agency. And we're going to continue those talks with those agencies here throughout the spring and summer to kind of finalize what our final approach might be. We're looking at some creative solutions where perhaps we could phase a project in if needed based on funding commitments, but we're still not letting go of doing the whole project at the same time. But we're trying to get a better handle, especially from rural development, on what type of a funding commitment might be available for us. So we're going to continue to keep working through that and have updates for you as we move that through here in the spring and summer of this year.
That would be good.
I know
we'll be bringing Steve in as well to start probably working on several different user rate scenarios based on different levels of grant funding to help support, a direction that we might want to move. So Steve, stand by on that. We'll be getting with you here the next 30 days or so on some options to consider.
Any other questions about that?
I just, we had that #1 ranking. I know we had a discussion before. I think that evolved around potentially getting more funds, the grant portion or the reimbursable loan. Is that still a possibility on the table as far as the whole package?
That's why Ken has already reached out and started having meetings and conversations with the funding sources. He already did that last week. He's already on top of it. And both Steve and Dan, we all had an internal meeting, and Ken's already reaching out and talking to them about the possibilities.
Because it kind of backdoors into the rate.
Yes, it does.
Yep.
Well aware.
Calculate that, so it's okay. Hopefully,
well, we know at a minimum we have a $5 million commitment from SRF, and we're asking for more when it comes down to.
Yeah, or what won't be a fund really a.
And at some point, and maybe it's premature, it'd be nice to see I don't want to burden Steve or JPR, but to see a breakdown of, okay, so now the project's $43 million. If we get X amount of grant or forgivable loan, it produces a rate in this neighborhood. If we get this, it produces a rate in this neighborhood. Because I'm going to guess that there's a point where even on if the most optimistic assessment of grant puts us at a rate way higher than we anticipated, the board's going to have to decide whether it wants to proceed or not. I mean,
for sure.
That's what I was kind of getting at. Thanks for taking it.
Well, I mean, I don't know how. I mean, it's just I know it's math, but I mean, what is too many moving parts for my lawyer mind to figure out. But I mean,
I guess my question would be piggybacking on that, like. So if we're looking at $78 or $80 a month per customer, what portion of that award has to be a reimbursable loan to make that happen?
To get a number under $100,
yeah,
for example.
I know it's a lot more than $5 million.
And I think that's where Steve Henshin said we're going to have to bring in Steve Carter to start looking at that. And it's not a matter of, bugging them. We're going to have to work the numbers and see and get it and figure it out.
And to your point, we have been pretty successful on past projects. What we need to ask them, this is what we need grant money wise to make this project work. What can you do for us?
No,
exactly. That's the bottom line.
Well, yeah, based on Rolling Prairie Phase 2, it was incredible. So I think it's going to need to be probably something similar. So I'm still cautiously optimistic Ken can work his magic with the folks at SRF.
Yeah, and I know we've had conversations locally with our state elected officials about the SRF, so keep working.
That's a great point there, and for both. And again, we don't want to just focus only on state revolving funds. This might be the type and size of project that requires funding from both agencies that we typically go to. So, Steve, let's plan a meeting with you and I and Jennifer, and we'll get rolling on making sure you have all the data you need to help start running some of these rate scenarios with various levels of grant funding.
Yeah, sounds good.
And one of the funding sources even gave Ken ideas of where to start talking to and things to do that we'll discuss with the engineering committee to keep putting pressure on and starting talking to people.
Okay.
So there are options. We just need to keep moving forward.
Sounds good.
All right. So, moving on back to the SRF PER response. In order to keep that SRF application moving, there were a couple of items that weren't submitted with the initial PER that they requested as a part of this comment letter. Those two things were the PER acceptance resolution and the SRF signatory authorization resolution. Essentially, what these are, two resolutions that state that the board is officially accepting the PER and that they're authorizing John Carr as the signatory to submit the application.
This one.
And there's copies of both of those in the board packets.
Yeah.
I'll need to have them. We'll have to have a motion on that.
Right. I would probably have two separate motions.
Yeah.
It's a resolution. And they're both fine. I reviewed them.
Got a microphone?
Yeah, it's just standard.
I'm sorry.
Language.
We'll need two separate motions, one for the signatory authorization resolution, one for the PER acceptance resolution, and they seem to be fine.
This one's at $300.
Has everybody had a chance to look at them?
Yep.
I would say for future reference, Dan, it doesn't matter. They are the LaPorte County Regional Sewer and Water District, and they are in LaPorte County, but the formal name doesn't really include of LaPorte County, Indiana.
Oh, I don't think that would.
And I don't know if it doesn't matter to me. This is fine. I'm just saying as we move forward, it's just LaPorte County Regional Sewer and Water District.
Right.
But I'm fine with both of them.
The LPCRSWD.
Correct. Flows right off the tongue.
It does. Just
And Barry, we can certainly clean that up. I think Dan pulled those off of the
that's
SRF's website, and it's kind of a standard form.
Yeah.
That they don't write it around sewer districts; they write it around municipalities.
Yeah.
So we can certainly clean that up.
And it's fine. It's descriptively correct. We are at LaPorte County.
Okay.
Just at some point as we move forward and send out notices or publication notices, we don't have to put the of LaPorte County since we have it at the front part.
Yeah, I guess I should say that was two different fields in the form.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm perfectly fine with the board accepting both of them today if they choose.
I'd like to move to accept the SRF Loan Program PER acceptance resolution.
Second.
We got a motion and a second to accept the PER acceptance resolution. Are there any questions on the motion? Proceed to vote. All those in favor signify by the word aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it.
I'll also make a motion to accept the signatory authorization resolution presented to us today.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to accept the signatory authorization resolution. Are there any questions on the motion? Proceed to vote. All those in favor signify by the word aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it.
And I will come by and get signed copies at the end of the meeting.
Very good.
One other item that was touched on in the PER comments was the need for a board member to attend an annual SRF regional planning meeting. Just one of you guys would need to attend this meeting on behalf of the board. There are two of them nearby coming up. They're listed in the agenda, the full meeting agenda. The next one is on Wednesday, April 25th from 10 to 11:30 Central at Cherville Town Hall. That's the Northwest Region one.
That's during our next board meeting.
Yeah, we have a board meeting that day.
On a Wednesday?
Oh, Tuesday, What, April?
Wednesday, April
April.
25th.
April 25th is a Tuesday.
April 25th is a Tuesday.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Yeah. We're in this room at that time.
Well, we'll have to double check that back with SRF's website.
Okay.
But the other meeting is on Thursday, May 4th from 1 to 3 Eastern at the West Side Park Building in Napanee. That's the North Central meeting. You can go to any meeting really on the list of meetings. Those are just the two closest to here. And I didn't know if you guys wanted to discuss who was going to attend, but
I can figure it out. I'll go.
Yeah.
Board's okay with that.
Yeah, I don't have a problem. Mitch, you want to go?
Let's say planning meeting.
Mitch, do you know which one you're going to?
I'll look online, but I'm not going to be attending the sheriff one. That's because if we're here,
Right.
I mean, unless we have a quorum, maybe I will. I don't know. But
Yeah, I guess
I'll look online and see what else is available. But the 4th, May 4th, that works right now on my schedule.
Okay.
So that'd be Eastern time, yeah. So that'd be 12 to 2.
Thanks, Mitch.
Yeah.
Thanks.
No problem.
Need help? Let me know.
Nice drive to Napanee.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not far.
All right, so I'll move on to just a little bit of a design update on the Hudson-Saguenay project. We have established wastewater plant proposed flows and loadings for the system design. As I mentioned before, I've been working on developing equipment pre-selection packages as listed above. I've received quotes and I'm currently working on scheduling video and locating services for the outfall sewer into Hog Lake at the wastewater plant. Reached out to a handful of different cleaning and televising companies and got a good quote. Sounds like they'll probably be out in the next 2 weeks or so to be able to get that located for us. And for the foreseeable future, we'll just be continuing work on plan set production for the wastewater plant. For the collection system, we are currently working on hydraulic modeling of the proposed pressure sewer system. Preliminary plan and profile alignments and drawings are being developed, with many of them being prepared for Saguenay Lake, and Hudson Lake is partially done and will be continued to be worked on. The preliminary utility coordination with all the member utilities in the area is underway and ongoing. And in the last couple of weeks, I have drafted a geotechnical services RFP for soil borings for all of the project areas, and I'll be launching that out to different geotech service providers in the next week or so. So there'll start being some borings being pulled from around Saguenay and Hudson Lake, so we can get an idea of soil conditions, water table, things like that. Then the next item I had was Whisper Isle, which I think we're going to touch on in new or old business, correct? Yeah, so I will go ahead and wrap up.
Thank you.
Yep, thanks.
Yeah. Yeah. There's 2 different scenarios, I think it was. Here. 2, 3. That one. Constant pressure. Oh, sewer connection.
Okay, moving on to, where are we?
J.
Executive Committee. No update. Engineering Committee, we met February 9th, 2023. Next meeting hasn't been set yet for March. I would ask that Jerry and Mitch make it a point to be there. We'll be selecting equipment, and I know you guys have the most experience in regards to that type of stuff.
We'll be there.
Yep. Okay.
Priority.
Moving on to new business. Next meeting, March 28th.
Yep.
Everything in person and Zoom. We're still to Zoom. Okay, yeah. Now, I know that there's some things that transpired here on a county level in regards to attending a meeting via Zoom. So, is that going to have any reflection on how we do it?
I do not pay that close attention to everything that the county commissioners or county council do, but I think it was specific to the county commissioners, if I recall.
All right,
And
I just want to make sure. In case
maybe
one of
Mitch
us-
or Amanda, who have to attend those periodically, would know better. But I didn't think that there was any global decision, and I'm not sure that jurisdictionally they really can dictate what this board does in any event. So
Yeah, it was. My understanding is it was just meant for the commissioners in that board.
Right.
They're only allowed to miss one meeting, so you can have one meeting a year on Zoom.
It didn't end Zoom opportunities. It tightened the restrictions of how many the members can attend via Zoom
and vote.
Okay, so that's their own ordinance.
Their
they
own
passed.
thing.
Okay,
Correct.
Good deal. Moving on to pre-agenda meeting and attendees. We had that last week. I could not attend, but any comments on that?
No, this is just for the new one coming up, and I'm just keeping them on here to remind you guys, the ones that are attending. We'll have another one scheduled for March 21st for next month.
Okay. Internal Control Policy Executive Committee.
That's the other one I'm trying to get scheduled that I sent the emails out on.
Okay.
Looks like, I think it was 25th or 26th, it looks like we'll be doing that one. And I thought we might try to work on maybe the audit information too, depending on.
Maybe we should set aside a week for the whole month to just kind of take care of all these.
The internal control policy isn't trivial, is it? We went through that with the city, and it's
just an audit comment, and it's just something that needs to be cleaned up. It's not as ominous as you would think. We have I've distributed a copy or a template from another district. You just need to adopt the policy and as a regulatory item.
And follow it.
That would be preferable, yes.
Okay. Next item, approval of resolution allowing the Michigan City Sanitary District to service residential and commercial customers in the vicinity of County Road 300 North and US 421.
And that is, the board some time ago, I believe, approved this in a motion and approval. But we were asked to provide a more formal resolution. I think it's important to the RDC and the Sanitary District of Michigan City that they get this actual resolution, which essentially consents to allowing the Michigan City Sanitary District to provide for sanitary sewer for the new development that's going on at 421 and 300.
Yeah.
I mean, we obviously, with what we have going on at Rolling Prairie and Hudson and Saucony, that's not necessarily something that we're going to be doing anytime soon. They need the services now as that project moves forward. We did a very similar resolution. In fact, it serves as kind of the basis of this one for the Franciscan project that was out at 421 and 94. Mm-hmm. So this is essentially doing the same thing, which is, again, since it's in our territorial jurisdiction, they just wanted something that said we're okay with the sanitary district taking care of the sewer line for all the development at that particular location.
We're a water district too now.
We are.
But do we have any countywide authority or interest in water issues? I just went by there the other day and they're putting down 12-inch water main.
Yeah, I mean, no one's ever asked us to wait. Like, Chris Johnson's never asked us to do a similar resolution. I suppose if the water department at some point wants it, we're happy to do it since we do technically have the jurisdiction.
We have bi-weekly construction meetings at DNM's office. Chris Johnson attends all of them.
They probably have a certificate of authority for a certain boundary.
You know what? They do.
They do.
As a matter of fact, they did that.
Okay.
They did that. They do have the territorial jurisdiction, so they don't need it. You're right. Thanks for reminding me, Jerry.
Barry, do you think that I need to recuse myself from this vote because somehow I'm on both sides or no?
I don't think so because it's not the city of Michigan City. It's specific to the sanitary district. I mean, I want you to do whatever you're comfortable with. I suspect it'll pass if I'm a betting man regardless.
But they kind of like a standalone quasi.
Well, the sanitary district is more governed by the civil city than the water department, which was set up as a separate municipal entity. But I want Dahlia to do whatever she's comfortable doing. I don't think it's necessarily a conflict, but if you want to err on the side, I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Well, yeah, I think we need to do it for the sanitary portion, so I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay. We have a motion to approve the resolution.
I'll second. Go ahead, Jack.
Just one quick comment. Do we have a board of trustees referenced in this? Oh, and it's misspelled too, B-O-R-D, but down in the last line on the first page, last paragraph. Do we want board members or what do we want?
Board of Trustees. Oh, the board of Trustees.
I'm not sure what you're asking, Jerry, but I want to.
Trustees. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Trustees of LaPorte County. Is that the right term? Isn't
Yeah,
it?
we are actually the Board of Trustees.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So then it's just a typo.
But that's my typo, so I'm sorry. Thanks for pointing out the one word out of 800.
I can't spell, but I can pick out typos.
It's like, where's Waldo? He just can't.
This was all just a ruse to point out my mistake. But we are a Board of Trustees.
Okay, we got a motion and a second to approve the resolution allowing the Michigan City Sanitary District to serve residential and commercial customers in the vicinity of County Road 300 North and US 421. Are there any questions on the motion?
No, but I'm going to vote abstain, so if you could put that in the record.
Talia is going to abstain. Jennifer, can you note that for the record? Proceeding to vote. We'll do a roll call vote. I guess we don't need.
John Carr,
Here, yay.
Marcella,
Yes.
Jerry Jackson,
Aye.
Mitch Bishop. Do I call Dahlia and she can officially abstain? Or just
I don't think you need to.
Okay.
She's already.
all right? Amanda Laners.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Next on the item is laptop.
Second the motion.
Marcy.
And if you have your, if you have your copy, if the two of you, you and Jerry, could sign it,
Sure.
I'll, and maybe I want the originals always to stay with Jennifer, but if Jennifer could scan that right away and send it to me, because Jim Meyer at the Sanitary District has been waiting patiently for it. Thanks.
We could probably get it. Well, if you need to have it scanned somewhere, I'm sure there's a place here.
Well, I just want Jennifer to always kind of be the keeper of the official records, so she can get it to me tonight, today, tomorrow is fine.
Yeah, I can do it today.
Okay.
Okay. Next item is laptops and portal for board meeting packets and documents.
This is just something I wanted to talk to you guys about because we use so much paper.
Right.
And I have seen this among many board members at various districts I work with. And there is a lot of programs that we can actually use for these meetings where I can just download the information straight there and then get you guys your own laptops or computers. And I think that's something that if you're interested in, we might start looking at and getting some quotes for that.
Okay.
Even if you do what you do now and dump them all into a PDFs,
Exactly.
piece of cake to say, oh, that PDF, that,
Yeah,
it
you
doesn't
can-
even take special software.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, I think it would be so much nicer than all
Yeah,
the paper that
agreed.
we're using
Yeah,
and
it's,
printing and hours it takes me to print all this stuff. I
Let's
just
do that.
think that, looking into this and then as you're sitting there, you can be pulling up these documents as we're talking about them and reviewing them.
Yeah.
Great idea.
It just seems like a good thing to take a look at.
Yep. So I've actually used that with some of the other things I belong to. They provide laptops, and that's all for paperwork because you're talking thousands and thousands of documents.
Oh, it takes me hours to print
Yeah.
and do all this.
And then there's always the document you don't have because
I
for
forgot
whatever
or
reason.
missed it.
Yeah,
exactly.
for whatever reason.
So I would love to kind of look into that and get some quotes and
Let's do it.
information
Yeah, I
for
don't
you
see a problem
guys.
with that.
Because we're moving
Great
forward.
idea.
Plus
Great
that.
idea. Let's do it.
Okay. All right.
Okay, moving on to old business. We have Whisper Isle subdivision cost estimate and study, which is attached.
Before we get into Whisper Isle, I wanted to let you guys know I looked up the SRF planning meeting schedule, and this is a typo on the agenda. It's Wednesday, April 26th. So, Mitch, does that change things? Would you want to attend that one instead, or you still want to stick with the one in May?
April 26th?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good day for me. Okay, let's do that one.
Gonna give up the Amish donuts and that.
That one's in Cherville.
Oh.
April 26th one's in Cherville.
But he's going to give up the naphany.
There is what's that donut place? There is one over there.
Rise and Roll.
Rise and Roll. There is one in Cherville.
Okay, we're covered there.
Oh, there is one in Cherville? Is there really?
The Amish crack donuts, what do they cost?
Jeez, oh, Pete.
We're good. Yeah, if you want to go, I can pick you up there.
So last month for Whisper Isle, we discussed two different scenarios for providing sewer service to the little subdivision. The first was providing service to just the first 3 homes. The second was providing service to the entire subdivision. Costs for each alternative are attached. That's construction and estimated non-construction costs for each of those two. I think we had discussed about possibly including it as part of the Hudson-Saugony project, and I believe it was tabled to this month.
Mm-hmm.
What we found is that if service is provided to the entire subdivision, then that would result in upgrades to the 350 East lift station being required due to head conditions acting on it.
1,000. What we got here? Ooh, this is better.
So each of these cost estimates does include a approximate cost per pressure sewer connection listed in the bottom right. And they're actually pretty similar to one another, and that's because of that required pump station upgrade.
Would we treat, if we were to say, yeah, let's do this, would we treat these customers in the exact same fashion? I guess there's various schemes we could do it, but would we treat them as Saugony Hudson Lake project members? So whatever it costs out there is what it costs here?
I think we'd have to, right, Steve?
Yeah.
Yeah, we could. Yeah, I guess we have several options. You could do this as a standalone project. You probably, it's so small though, it wouldn't be worth going after SRF funding with all the federal requirements, but you could certainly roll it into the Hudson-Saugony project and say this is one additional service area that we want to bring in. And you could actually fund it, build it under the same construction contracts, that type of thing.
I'm not seeing the number of houses. How many?
There's 12 homes.
It looks like there's 13 laterals or 12 laterals.
164.
But how many? There's additional lots here that haven't been developed. How many? Is there future development that we could also pick up?
Yeah,
you'd be able to expand and tie onto the main going down Whisper Crossing. There'd be some expansion built in.
Yeah, let's look at. I don't the original.
Because I think that's with the full system build out. Actually, I'm showing that as all 2-inch pipe.
Okay.
Would it then be beneficial?
How many additional lots are out there, John?
You know, I don't have an exact number, but
I could.
There's.
When was this platted and approved? You would might know.
It was probably early 2000s.
We have a record. The building commission office. It wasn't probably approved for the the full build out.
Yeah,
assuming.
Is the AAA guy out there? Is that where he
You
lives?
could probably see what the full build out and how many lots were included in that. I'm not sure.
Okay, he was telling me
who's developing. Are these for sale? You know if they're for sale, the other lots? John?
Yeah, they are for sale.
Okay, so there's a possibility to add on.
Yep.
This probably wouldn't significantly change our big project, the cost of per unit up or down much at all, would it?
Yeah, I mean it's $700,000, but
Almost
in the grand scheme of things.
I'm missing some numbers here.
Yeah, the full
pretty
neighborhood's
expensive for a little.
$700,000.
The red one is the cheaper one.
Gotcha. That's why I wasn't seeing the number of homes.
Mm.
The cost is a little on the, when we break down that cost per connection, it is a little bit on the higher side just because of it's not as dense. We're putting a lot of pipe in for only 12 connections plus the upgrade of the pump station.
Right.
Yeah, it's $224 a month for 20 years without any interest.
Yeah.
On the loan. So I mean, that's
expensive.
That's expensive.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you look at it from the perspective of, you're looking at 43 million for a little over 1,000 connections for Hudson-Saucony. It's, that's 40 some thousand. The other thing I would look at is it looks like all along the east side of the road there, and again, it depends on the number of lots that are available, but you can cut that in half if it was 13 additional lots that aren't built out.
This might help sell lots.
Yeah, could help sell lots as well. Yeah.
Definitely.
I know the first house and the third house was having issues, so that's why this was brought forward, being on the pond side.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that it's probably not going to get any better, and eventually maybe get worse for the houses on the water side. But just something that to consider.
And to be the city of LaPorte bad guy, this is not in the service area for. So I don't know how to resolve that, but that's a question we're going to have to jump.
I thought the swath went down to and a few hundred feet to the south all the way over
here in a couple.
We can pull it out, but I remember is they made a blob around Rolling Prairie, then a blob around our lift station at 350, and then also at what was the church out on 500 East or 600 East? They put a blob around that. And so I don't know if I didn't think it was, but we should resolve that question.
That was the Avid March plan, right? If I remember correctly.
I think so.
They did the graphics.
Yeah, that was part of the rolling, yeah.
Phase 1 of Rolling Prairie is part of that. Yeah. I don't have that. You do, though, I imagine.
Yeah, I do. Yep, I do.
Okay.
Do we need to get a little bit more information?
Yeah.
Maybe get a little more information before
Table
we.
this for now, you think?
Table it again.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's fine.
Thank you for the information.
So do you know what information you're going to get for next month, or you just want to table it?
One question is, can we serve it legally? Is it in our district? What hoops do we have to jump?
I get the subdivision plan to see how many homes, full build out.
That's a real good question.
How many lots?
Yeah, that could be much more effective.
Well, I suppose some homes might be on a double lot, but how many remaining units there would be total?
We could bring it up. Yeah.
Should we kick this down to the engineering committee and maybe have them make a recommendation to the full board or something?
I think that's a good
That's
idea.
a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, moving on, Mechanic Street property.
This is one we just wanted to keep on here. It's the home that has connection issues from phase 1. I know Kenny did go out and look at the property, and they're going to have issues no matter what. They're basically in a hole.
Well, had we put a sewer connection in on the new sewer from the phase 2, that would have served them.
Yeah, they would have reached out. And,
it would have been plenty deep enough.
Down in the hole. There's a song like that. Down in the hole. Yeah. So what's the resolution? We have to.
we don't have one at this time.
Assist.
Last time we talked, it was we were going to wait and see if there's any funds available at the end of the project
Okay, that's
to
right.
see
I just forgot.
if
What's
we
left
can do
over?
anything.
Okay.
So we're not going to know that until probably June.
Yep.
Okay, we
Which
make a
this
note.
is about the right time to make, if we decide to make a road cut.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, you just wanted me to keep it on here, so.
You're right.
I have one other item, John, I forgot about.
Sure.
So the annual financial report in Gateway has been prepared. I reviewed it. It's ready to be submitted along with the debt management affirmation. And I think, John, you are the only person that can submit those reports,
Okay.
and that's due today.
What's it on?
Gateway.
Oh yeah, I can get on there.
Let me know if you have any issues. That's on the left-hand side, about five down on the main menu. It just says debt management. You just need to go in there and click to affirm the debt that it didn't change.
Okay, I'm familiar with that.
Can you send copies of that to me and
I
Marcy?
think I already did, but I can send it again.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, like a month ago.
I I slept since then. So.
Yeah.
One more time, please.
Now, if we had those laptops.
Yeah, we have those.
We'd be doing it right here, John.
Yeah, I can send the gateway. Okay. Anything else?
Do we need to try to set up any of these dates while we're here regarding like meetings?
If you want to, I don't have my emails here.
Okay, that's fine. We'll just do it via email.
I know the engineering, I think both Jerry and Mitch said they were available, so I was going to do one of whatever dates they said.
One of those
and then,
days I was
towards
16th.
the end, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was the 16th, and then I think everybody thought the 25th or 26th was better, so I was going to do one of those.
It was the 22nd, wasn't it?
Was it 22nd,
Yeah.
23rd?
I believe
Is
so.
that what it was?
Yeah.
Okay, see?
Yeah.
I slept again.
Well, we could do 25th or 26th, but that'd be.
I don't know if I will,
Oh,
but
you want to do that?
No.
You guys are tricking me. You won't show up.
I don't know if I'm going to be around. Oh, it's a Saturday, Sunday. Are you crazy?
Right?
Enough is enough.
So when I get back to the office, I'm going into
Okay.
Rolling Prairie for a little bit, but I'll send a confirmation. Jerry, is it all right at your office for the engineering again?
Sure. Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
We'll do it there. And then I don't think Jerry's on the other one, but we'll figure out a
I'll
place.
probably still be late, but
Also, I got one other thing to touch on. Tomorrow afternoon, I'm going to be up at the Travel Plaza 3 plant. We're having a company called SEH who's going to be helping us with some sub-consultant services with electrical design and project review and things of that nature. They want to take a look at the plant. They're based out of Wisconsin, Munster and Wisconsin, and they want to check the place out and get an idea, make a site visit. So I'm meeting with them there tomorrow afternoon. I've invited Chris.
I was going to say, you did tell Chris. Okay.
is it electrical service quantity or is it looking at SCADA and distribution within?
Kind of all of the above.
All the above.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anything else to bring up in front of the board today, February 28th, 2023?
No.
I'll make a motion to adjourn if that's the case.
Second.
We got a motion and a second to adjourn. Are there any questions on the motion? Proceed to vote. All those in favor signify by the word aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it.
Jared, what's going on?